President Reyes.
Yes.
Vice President Dr. Pizzatelli.
Here.
Trustee Acosta. Trustee Alam.
Yes.
Trustee Chang. Here. Trustee Duval. Trustee Gassadui. Trustee Palermo.
Here.
Trustee Parkinson. Yes. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of any public body at which business affecting their business is discussed and acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the School Business Administrator or Board Secretary has caused notice of this meeting to be sent to the following, announcing time and place thereof, agenda, etc. The Jersey Journal, the Administration Bulletin Board, and the District website. Fellow board members, this evening I have a few items for your information. The first one is I wanted to announce that the County Superintendent appointed a Vice President of the Board of Education, and it's Dr. Christine Pizzatelli. So I guess congratulations to a fellow board member. One other thing I'd like to mention is that I spoke to the President, and we have a new representative from New Jersey School Boards Association. Her name is Charlene Peterson, and she'll be joining the board at our next meeting on April 9th to discuss roles and responsibilities of the board members, also to discuss the process for the annual evaluation by statute of the superintendent of schools, and also to lay the path in beginning to talk about the board setting board goals. So she'll be joining the meeting on April 9th to discuss all those items with the board. Also this evening, I guess I should introduce, we have Jenna Rottenberg from Florida Prucci, Steinhardt, and Fader as the board attorney. Moving on, I'd just like to, I shared this with the board members when I received it from the town of West New York, from the municipal clerk. Share it with the public that I received notification from Carmela Ritchie, the town clerk, that the town of West New York, at their meeting on February 19th, moved the election from April to November. So with that action, this current board that's sitting here will remain board members until December. And then during the election in November, we'll have 3 seats open, and on one other seat, the seat that was vacated by Ms. Series, will also be available. So I guess, I don't know if congratulations or my sympathies are in order to the board members, but your terms have been extended. So I don't know if it's congratulations or my sympathies, but with that action from the town, the terms have been extended. The next thing I'd like to discuss is that in tonight's board agenda, there are various policies that Mr. Roth spoke about at last month's meeting that needed to be revised because of changes of the board being changed from a Type 1 to a Type 2 district. We had policies that said we are a Type 1 district. Well, we're no longer a Type 1, so the policy has to be changed to say now we're a Type 2 district. And other things along that nature that needed to be changed, the number of board members, for example, and other items. So there were a multitude, there are about 10 policies that are listed at first reading tonight for the board to consider in the first reading. If the board has any questions, they can feel free to contact the superintendent or myself, and then they'll be advanced to the next meeting for second reading and adoption. But there is one policy that needs board discussion or consideration or input, and it was board committees. The way that it's policy 0155, and what I did is I provided the board members with a copy of that this evening. I put it at your seat so you have a copy, and I highlighted currently in effect. So that's the policy that's currently in effect. And that policy, as Mr. Roth explained at last month's meeting, treats the board as a committee of the whole. So if the board wishes, they can just leave it that way, and the board will not change that policy, and the board will still operate as a committee of the whole. The alternative to that is the board to have board committees. And what I did is I had drafted 0155 for your discussion and consideration, having 2 committees, a curriculum technology committee and a finance/budget committee. So they're the 2 different policies. So I don't know if the board wants to discuss it now or discuss it later, whenever, but I need to know what the board, which policy the board, or really it's bylaw, which bylaw the board wishes to go with, whether they want to keep it as is, as committee of the whole, them to those two committees.
Mr. Franchetta, there's some other portions of the other bylaws that I was wondering if we could discuss as a group.
Later on we'll get to that part of the meeting, but for now I just wanted to bring this to your attention. I guess we could discuss all these when we discuss that, but I just wanted to call these two to your attention since a decision is needed on this. Okay, if you want, I guess we'll now discuss 0155. Is there any board members, any input from any board members as to which method they prefer, or if they need a better explanation?
Can we wait and read it more relaxed because we don't have enough time to read this now?
Okay, I mean, I'll pull it. Okay, I'll pull it from the first reading if that's what the board's desire, and then you can look at these. And I'll put it back on for next month's. I'll put both back on for next month for first reading, and so you can have time to think about it.
Also, it's 2 board members missing tonight.
Okay.
Would I do better thing also?
Why don't you make a motion to remove it from first reading?
Okay.
I just have a quick question, Mr. Franchetta. So, do we, with the bylaws and these amended bylaws, do we vote on the first reading?
No, you don't vote. It's just.
When there's changes to them, that's what you're voting on.
Well, can the superintendent just withdraw it from? Well, it's really not. It's not even on.
It's not even on the agenda.
It's just the first reading.
Yeah.
Mr. Chang, what happens is the board is required to have 2 readings, one in public. It's kind of like an ordinance in town. They have to have 1 reading where there can be comments from the board. The difference is there could also be comments from the audience as opposed to a first reading for an ordinance in town. There's no discussion. The second reading is when you would vote on it. Because with the first reading, you would make any comments now. If you want more time, as I said, that's fine. No problem. That's the whole point of this, is to have a discussion. And then you would bring it back, you make any additional comments, and then the second reading is when you would adopt it as your majority of the
Okay. So Mr. Franchetta, I'm just wondering, I mean, so Ms. Duval would like it pulled, but I was wondering if we could just discuss it
Sure.
at any point that
Do you have any questions regarding it?
That's the best time since it's open.
Sure. So, with regards to the board committees, so we're proposing creating a curriculum and technology committee and a finance and budget committee. Now that we're 9 members, I mean, I'd be willing to give it a shot to see if it worked or not. If it didn't work out, then we could just abolish the committees. But I'd be interested in seeing, given that we have such a large board and it's hard for us all to get together, just so that, I know that some members have expertise in certain subjects. For example, I have a Bachelor's of Science in Computer Information Systems. I'd be interested in serving on the Curriculum and Technology Committee. So I'd be willing to give it a shot.
I'd like to make a comment with regard to these committee meetings. I've had the opportunity to always work in a district because of the large size of the district with committees. I find them very useful, and I find that more takes place in the dialogue. However, I feel that since this is a community that has not had that experience, I think we really need to have someone here, whether it be Kevin or Alan or somebody from legal representation, to explain exactly what the committee does, when it has to meet, is it open to the public to come to this portion? Because if you out there are interested in something in finance, you surely don't want to find out about it when it's presented at a board meeting after it's all done. And I would like them to explain how this is done, how the people are selected. Do they select people from the community as well as board members? Because all these things are different, and I don't think you people, and I know I wouldn't, and I probably can't even recall exactly how it's done. So, Mr. Roth, if you're going to be with us and share this with us, or a legal representative, It is very important because it does mean another night that you come back. It does mean a meeting that has an agenda, and the responsibility for what you determine and present to the rest of the board to vote on comes from this committee. And you need to not only know about it, but you might need to be able to participate, if you understand what I'm saying. So I'd like somebody to explain that, because I don't think it is. Whoever wants to take that.
You'll start, I'll come in on anything else.
Okay. The way that the committees work is, and the way that they have to work in terms of public notice, is a committee has to be less than the majority of the quorum. So the way with a 9-person board, the committees would be 3 people, plus the president would be an ex officio member, which means the president has a say on, has a right to appear at any meeting. If another person wants to be invited or asked to come to the committee meeting, then one of these people that are assigned to the committee would have to bow out for that particular meeting, because again, you can't have a quorum. The public is not invited to a committee meeting because it's not a public meeting. If the committee wants to invite someone to speak at something, either a professional about the issue about a professional, staff member, or a member of the committee, a member of the community, then the chair of that particular committee can do so. So if a parent has an idea and present it to the superintendent for hypothetically some type of program, educational program, and go to the curriculum and technology committee, or an idea to bring in some kind of technology, that would be at the discretion of that committee chair. How they're picked, the board president would select after the committees, after input from the board members. If a board member, as Mr. Chang said, he would have interest in being on a technology committee because he has expertise in that, and the board president would say, I would like to be on that committee, and the president can make that determination. And that's down in the 4th paragraph. There's also something called ad hoc committee. So if the president or the board has an issue that has a specialty, such as when we start negotiations. When we have to begin negotiations. It's very difficult and unwieldy, and it'll be improper to have the entire board sitting at a negotiation committee meeting in the session, because of the fact that you have to have it in public, and negotiations in and of itself are excluded from the public. So, yes, it would be another night. It would be another meeting. It would normally be chaired by, not chaired, but the superintendent would most likely be there, or superintendent's designee, plus someone from that particular department, such as, obviously, budget and finance. Mr. Franchetti should be there as the board secretary, business administrator. He has the control of the finances on a day-to-day basis. Curriculum and technology, one of the supervisors, if he has something for the math or science or something, could be invited. Obviously, the superintendent should be at that, and one of the assistant superintendents should be there for that. When we had actual committee meetings years ago, they did invite the lawyer. If I'm here, I'm on staff. It doesn't cost you anything. It very obviously cost you to be there if you'd like. What else you had to ask?
Your other question was about how often they meet too. You wanted to know about the meeting.
Yeah.
And that's mostly up to the committee chairperson to schedule the meeting. And I think I was looking through yours, and if you turn to the second page of the proposed policy, it talks about how they may be called at any time. Generally, what I've seen in most of my districts is they have committee meetings about once a month for each committee, so that they can kind of have updates prior to the board meeting. So when the committee chairperson comes to the board, they come and present the findings and everything that's happened at the committee meeting, so that the board as a whole can hear what happened at the committee meeting.
I have a concerned. Are you saying never is the public? Because I seem to remember meetings where the public can come into curriculum meetings when they were establishing textbooks being used or for a particular school. Why can't the public be there?
The public can, again, if you turn to the second page of that policy, again, the second paragraph there, generally committee meetings are not open to public because you don't have a quorum there. You have 3 or 4 people there. But if the committee determines that there's something like textbooks that you do need the community there for, that it would be better for the community to hear, they can all get together, and it is a majority of the committee votes and determines to open it up to the public. So it's not that you can never ever open a committee meeting up to the public, but they generally are not open unless you vote to open them up to the public.
All right, because that goes for things as construction, additions, and things where people can give for a particular school where the PTA are very active or where the parents are active. They can attend one of these meetings. I mean, I think their input is very important, and I don't think it should be, handed to somebody. This is what we do, because you know and I know where that leads us.
Dr. Piscatelli, so on that second page, that's just how it's written on the last paragraph. Committee meetings shall not be open to the public. But I think we're discussing it right now. I think everything's subject to discussion.
I wouldn't be in favor of it not being open.
Well, it says except that a majority of it may open it. It does have that clause.
Or invite people that have relevant knowledge.
So would this then become, how would people be notified? Is it going to be on the website? Curriculum meeting, our committee is meeting on April 1st. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, it can't be where we're doing this hidden. I'm only in favor of this if it's open, the session where people know what is going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the policy there.
I mean, because right away saying nobody else, I don't think that's a good idea.
No, we can put it on the website.
And generally it's announced too at the meetings. What I normally have for my boards that have committees is it'll be sometimes on the website, but it's always that the board president or the superintendent will say, the committee, the curriculum department will be meeting with the curriculum committee on X date, that the finance committee will meet on X date, and they just kind of notice it at the public as well as it being.
Or the chair, I've been in places where the chair announces, this is during the committee report, this is our committee, blah, 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 and our next meeting will be held at such and such a place, on such a place.
And how about on the agenda? For example, the agenda that the people would get today, for the coming month, the meetings, the ad hoc committees will be meeting on X amount of days. And then you could put the finance committee's meeting on this day.
We can do that.
Okay. Well, I think that's important. I don't want, like my colleagues, to tell me if you feel that way, but I think the public needs to be part of it.
Well, Dr. Piscatelli, to my point, I was saying that I don't necessarily think, in addition to what you're saying, that meetings, we don't have to have it say, committee meetings shall not be open to the public. We could have it say, we'll eventually vote on these bylaws. We can have it say meetings shall be open to the public as well.
Why?
No, I'm saying we can have it that way.
We can say that.
Yeah.
The one thing is I wouldn't recommend an exclusive prohibition one way or the other, only because there might be some things that need to be discussed in private.
But would that be an executive session?
Not for a committee.
Generally committees are, there's no executive session in committees. The whole meeting is kind of executive session, so you can kind of have your whole deliberative process in this committee meeting. You guys don't have a proposal yet, but you've spoken about negotiations committee. When you have negotiations committee meet, that whole thing is in private because you're all talking about negotiations as groups and as committee meetings, and there's no quorum, so it's not open to the public. So I agree with Alan that to have a blanket statement that all committee meetings are open to the public might be dangerous for things because, again, committees were developed under Robert's rules and developed so that you can have a group of people meet with the deliberative process where they can kind of talk about things and flesh ideas out, and it's not necessarily, it's things that would generally be happening in both sessions.
It's fishy though.
Committee.
Yeah, they could be eye.
Yes.
An open eye because they're gonna try to take the money committee, and that's where they're gonna try to appoint their people.
Yes,
As a
they
board
do themselves.
member,
I know,
And
I
the
know.
president is the one that named the people, right?
Yeah.
Was calling
let's say
page 12.
how I would find out what's going on, you will record it to
Open
us.
start up.
What happens
Okay,
generally
yeah.
what happens at the meeting following committee
Should
meeting,
be started to
the
have
superintendent or board president would ask whether any committee chairs have any reports to the board. And whoever is the chair of the finance committee would get
They
up
meet
and say,
within
we had a
themselves,
finance
within their
meeting
own
on
friendship.
March 1st at this finance meeting, we discussed items about the budget, and just generally talk about everything
It should
that
be
was discussed
either
at that
full
meeting.
member or
The
a
whole board
participant member,
in the
right?
loop.
Or standing committees, the board president, right? And special committee and so on, but everything is but now, let's see, the date, Pamela, shows
So,
what
are
the
there any other
election
questions regarding?
was dated.
Oh, I have some amendments for the other
That's what
bylaws.
that's what I forward to, right? And now the point is, I made a whole copy of
Can you make me a copy of this? I need this.
Yes, I just want
Hold
to.
that right there.
I have all the documents.
I need, if I use that, I need that.
Okay, okay.
That's part of my evidence right there.
I have all the, I made a whole copy of the whole, the working book. With all the PDF, and so on.
Also.
Oh, yes. Yes.
For 0163 quorum,
Which number is yours?
0163 quorum, so right now it's written 3, and we're trying to amend it to 5. I'd just like to suggest making an amendment here to say that a quorum shall consist of 5 board members, or in the case of vacancies, or in the case of 1 or more vacancies, a majority of the remaining board. Because in the past we've had vacancies, so I just wanted to make sure we would always have a quorum, even if we had vacancies. So for example, if there came a point where there were a number of vacancies and we couldn't meet the quorum, as it states very specifically here.
I don't have a page, I only have one page, you have 2 pages.
That, I didn't know that Mr. Shane was going to discuss that, so I only gave copies to the board members. But they
You
no.
have to give the same paper to all the board members, because he's talking something that I really don't know what he's talking about.
I printed it. I mean, you can put it on your computer. It's in Word document.
Yeah, but it's okay. Sorry,
Yeah, the statute controls.
Mr. Chang?
Yes.
I looked over this one with you. We kind of agree that the bylaws are different out of if there is a vacancy, the statute says that it's a roll call of the majority of the full number of boards. So if you're a board member, let's say we lose 1.
Okay.
Then
Then we have 4.
majority,
Then we have
it
8.
would still be 5, majority would be 5.
Okay.
Under the statute,
Okay.
if we have 2 vacancies, and I believe we have 2 vacancies once before,
Yeah.
if it's 2 vacancies, we would be 7, and then it would be, then the majority would be 4.
Okay.
The bylaw is for a 9-person board. The statute takes into account the discretion, so to speak,
Okay.
to have less board members on the roll, that's why they say a roll call vote.
So even if it's not,
people on the roll, the form would be reduced.
okay, so even though it's not specifically written in these bylaws that we're trying to pass,
Well,
it's still in the
bylaws
statute?
yes, and the
Okay.
reason is the bylaws are for a 9-person board. If we have vacancies, obviously there's something called the doctrine of necessity which would come into play that you'd be able to run the board and you would have to. That's what the statute allows.
Okay,
The policies and bylaws are reflective of what the board is right now. And again, the statute always controls if there's any difference in the numbers of board members.
okay. Yes, I'll give it to you. In 0143, it's a very minor change, unless on page 2, second paragraph, second line. I'll just read the sentence. In considering candidates who have expressed an interest in a vacancy, the Board of Education may interview interested candidates in public or executive session. I was wondering if we could make that or/and.
Oh, so saying that it could be both in public and executive. You want to make it an and/or.
I'll be honest with you, I believe that the new rules require it to be in public. So I would agree with you, I would just strike the executive session.
And just leave it as public.
You're supposed to do it in public, that's what we did last time,
Yeah.
because those are the rules. I would take out the executive session. That would be my recommendation. Or executive session if you take that out.
Because all interviews now are supposed to be done in public. Even if you interview your attorney or a professional, the interview needs to be in public.
I'm sorry, the interview needs to be in public, whether you're interviewing a professional, the engineer, you want to bring in an engineer, and you want to have 3 or 4 that you want to interview, those interviews need to be done in public session, but any deliberations would be at an executive, just like we did in January, when I made the comment that we'll go in executive session, and then when we get to white smoke, we'll put it out.
Then I guess
We'll strike that. We'll strike it. We'll take that word. That's a good catch.
One last thing. I noticed that we added a paragraph to nepotism, and I was wondering if someone could explain what that paragraph was.
Well, I mean, I'll basically tell you what the nepotism policy is. Anyone who is related in any form to the superintendent of schools or to a board member must get, for employment, must get approved by the county superintendent. That's basically how that policy reads without reading it.
Okay.
And that's from the
That's
fiscal
statute.
accountability regulations, require that to be in there.
Okay. All right.
Hello?
What's that? Okay, the next thing, are there any other questions on policy since while we're discussing the proposed policies? So, just to be clear, I'm going to remove 0155 from the first reading tonight. All the others will be, with the amendments that Mr. Chang mentioned, will be the first reading this evening. And then we'll put back on next month's agenda 0155, the committee issue for first reading next month again. Okay, the next thing that I wanted to mention to the board is that with our budget, the board needs to have a hearing on the budget, and there's a window of time that has to happen, and that the state establishes. And the window of time is from Thursday, April 24th through Wednesday, May 7th. That's the window of time that we're legally allowed to have the budget hearing. So I looked at the calendar, and since the board is used to meeting on Wednesday nights, I picked the Wednesday smack dab in the middle. So that way it's, because sometimes the county superintendent's reviewing the budget, and if we do it maybe the first day, that Thursday, she might not have completed her review yet. So that's why I picked in the middle. And if you pick the last possible day, which I think was a Wednesday, in fact, it was a Wednesday, in case the board wanted changes or something, there might not be enough time to make those changes. So that's why I picked in the Wednesday in the middle, and I know the board's used to Wednesdays. So with that in mind, if there's no objections, I'll schedule a public hearing on the budget for Wednesday, April 30th at 5:30 p.m. here at this location in the auditorium. So is there any objections from any board members regarding that date and time? Okay, seeing none, I'll put out, it'll be April 30th, Wednesday, April 30th, 5:30 here, public hearing on next year's budget. There's like a window of time, so I mean, if there's another date that someone wants, I'd be glad to change it. Do we want to do it Tuesday, the day before, the day after, the Thursday, which I guess would be the day since we're talking about April, June, so it would be May 1st. Is that better? What's the window time that you won't be around? I'm sorry? After May 7th? That's the day that it's due. That's the last possible day. So if you're not available till like May 8th, then it's too late. Okay, so then we're going to go forward with April 30th. April 30th. Okay. All right. On tonight's agenda, on item 1.0, there is the preliminary budget. These are just the grand totals and numbers for the budget. We received our state aid, and we received $146,840 from the state of New Jersey, an increase in our budget. So with that in mind, our total budget is proposed at $132,900,717. But at the public hearing on April 30th, the budget will be fully unveiled, and the board at that time can still make changes to the budget. There will be time to amend the budget and make changes. It will not be finalized. But this is just the grand total numbers that the board needs to approve, as we need to submit it to the county and to the RAC team, so that way they can review our budget, which it's due March 20th, I believe, to the county office for the initial review. So any questions on that process?
I'm just curious, Mr. Franchetti, how does the budget get reconciled with the actual expenditures? So, for example, I know that last year when we did this, school board election wasn't in the budget, and then we ended up having one in January. So how does that get reconciled with?
Well, in that example, we needed to transfer funds in order to cover that expenditure that was unanticipated.
Okay.
Any other questions regarding the initial budget and submission of the initial budget to the county superintendent and the RAC team for their initial review and comments? Okay. Seeing none, I think that concludes all my pieces. So turn it over to Mr. Falco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, to start off my report, I'd like to have a moment of silence in memory of Teresa Hilder. She was one of our first-year nurses who, about a couple months ago, was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and died rather quickly at a very young age. So I'd like to have a moment of silence in her memory. Thank you. We have several presentations this evening. We'll come down to the floor. Our first recognition will deal with our athletic department. Last Thursday, several board members attended, myself and cabinet members attended the full athletic dinner. It was very well put on by Athletic Director John Ferraccio, Assistant Athletic Director Mary Burgess. But we have some special statewide recognition that I'd like to recognize some individuals this evening. I'm being joined by Athletic Director John Fraccio and Ms. Burkus. Not only as the superintendent of schools, it's a very proud moment dealing with the athletic department. I also serve on the board of the NJSIAA, that's the State Athletic Association, on the executive committee representing Hudson County. So this is a dual honor for me this evening. I'd like to first bring up and recognize the head boys soccer coach, Albert de los Reyes. Albert, can you please join us up here? Albert was the head boys soccer coach and was named the entire state of New Jersey NJSIAA Coach of the Year. So on behalf of the West New York Board of Education and myself and the Cabinet and Central Office, I'd like to recognize Albert. This is a tremendous honor of all the athletic programs, soccer programs, state boys soccer. Albert was chosen by his peers as Coach of the Year. Congratulations. At this time, I'd also like to recognize some of the athletes. Oscar Nunez, can you please step up to the podium? Oscar is a senior soccer player that played under Albert. He was first team All-State. First team All-State. Also, can I have Brandon Cruz please come up? Okay. Brandon's not here tonight, so John, you'll be able to take that recognition. Brandon is a senior soccer player, midfielder who was voted second team All-State honors. I'd like to, at this time, bring up one individual who have an award up here. Melenzi Vargas. Melenzi, is she here? Okay. Melenzi is a sophomore soccer player, and she was the leading scorer in the entire state of New Jersey. Tremendous honor. I'd like to also recognize some other people in attendance this evening that contribute to this outstanding program. John, the only one that's... Okay. Okay. Honorable mention, All-State Christian Chirabolga. Not in attendance, but I'd like to mention their names. Gianna Garcia, All-State Honorable Mention. Fabio Suninga, All-State Honorable Mention. Mark A. Jerome, All-State Honorable Mention. I'd like to bring up head coach of the girls soccer program, Mike Leibowitz. Mike. Mr. Leibowitz is the Hudson County Interscholastic Conference Coach of the Year. I'd like to recognize the assistant coach, Hugo Sanchez, one of West New York's finest. Hugo, if you please come up. Hugo volunteered his time for the athletic program as one of West New York police officers, volunteers his time to and help Mr. Leibowitz as, doubling as a West New York police officer. So again, I just want to thank the athletic program and the Board of Education for making this all possible. As our board members, thank you, board members. I know Mr. Fraccio is under a lot of pressure. We got to get some pressure from some of our board members to add some more athletic team, so we
Yes.
definitely work on that.
Yes.
So thank you.
Come on.
Again, I'd like to thank the board for making this all happen and financing and backing our athletic teams. At this time, we have several presentations. I guess we need the board members to go down in front. At this time, I'd like to bring up Ms. Rosales, who can give our New Jersey Department of Education, Special Education, Anti-Bullying State Grades. Ms. Rosales, if the board members can please go to that presentation.
What's going on? What's going on?
Good evening. On February 19th, a court settlement came across our desk that was filed by parents and advocates from around the state of New Jersey. The lawsuit cited New Jersey's failure to implement the Individuals with Disability Act, which requires the provision for a free and appropriate education in the least restrictive environment. The plaintiffs alleged that the students were inappropriately placed and sent out of district and denied in-class aids, services, and accommodations needed to receive an appropriate education in a general education classroom. The plaintiffs stated that the non-disabled students, which we all see on a daily basis, benefit from the inclusion students, and it improves an understanding, acceptance, and relationships with children with disabilities. The settlement will result in an improvement of the placement of children in the least restrictive environment. The attorneys for the Educational Law Center, inclusion is not only the law, it is what's best for the children. It is also more cost-effective for our school districts. There were 75 school districts named in this suit. West New York was not one of them. However, the agreement applies to all. The West New York's role. The district has a current approved policy consistent with federal requirements. We monitor students are educated in age-appropriate general education classes to the maximum extent of 80%, and in their neighborhood school or the closest school that have programs suitable with accommodations, modifications, supports, and services. Communicate with all staff, parents, and students through various means. We have to promote successful strategies. I don't know what happened. Okay. Successful strategies in order to implement least restrictive environment. We have to make it a priority in our district. The Board of Education and the leadership should be supportive in all direct incentives that we come to you with to have activities that reflect the least restrictive environment. There should be ongoing collaboration between special education and general education staff. The district administration, including central office, special services, professional staff, and the board collaborate on promoting a climate of positive acceptance of students with disabilities in the buildings. All personnel are accountable for implementing the least restrictive environment. Activities for compliance. The Department of Special Services monitors the implementation of least restrictive environment through district ongoing basis, including access to general ed curriculum and extracurricular activities. Folks, our school district, with all the collaboration, we include our special needs students in everything that they possibly physically can participate in. They are in the play and memorial. They are on the soccer team. If they're not on the team, they're a manager of the team. We have coaches at the high school that have brought these kids under their wings and have done a successful job with them. Increased parent involvement. We have a parent group. The last meeting, 30 people showed up. 12 said maybe they'll come back. Continue ongoing professional development regarding methods, strategies, and interventions to assist students in the general education setting. All professional development plans for the 2014-15 school year must include provisions of the least restrictive environment for pre-K to 12. And we need to continue to recruit highly qualified personnel in our district who have proper education and credentials, which means dual certification, to have foster and support students in the least restrictive environment. Okay, this was as of Friday. These are our figures. Okay, we have 8,309 students as of Friday. We have 1,004 students that are classified in the districts. We have 90 students out of district. We have 2 students that are special needs on home instruction. We have 106 students waiting to be tested, K to 12. We have 185 students that have 504 plans with accommodations, modifications, and some of them are in need of personal assistance to get around the buildings. In early intervention, we have 14 students waiting to be tested. These are students that are in our list to be tested 4 months before their 3rd birthday. So any student that is like 2 years and 8 months, we will begin to start to test so they can be placed by their 3rd birthday. We have 651 students that are in resource. Those are the students that are in the least restrictive environments. The next group is the students, and these are the numbers for the schools. This was as of Friday. Within the last 2 days, we've got 4 new classified students at Memorial High School, 2 at the middle school, 1 in one of the elementary schools, and a pre-K 1 at 5 minutes to 4 today. So, you'll see the asterisk. This means that out of the 1,004, 651 of these students are the ones that have 80% of their day in classes with regular students. And that number of students that are self-contained in our district, we have classes for autism, specific learning disabilities. We have a total of 249. We are trying to lessen that number also by putting these kids into regular Gen Ed classes. That's my presentation on least restrictive environment. Like I said, West New York is in the forefront. In fact, one of the neighboring districts who is cited in that lawsuit will be coming to see us regarding our students that have 80% or more time in Gen Ed classes. Now I have to go over the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights. First of all, I am sorry I did not have very good folders, but these are for our board members. Okay, Angela. What I've done for you here is on your left-hand side of the folder is the new revised Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights that came right from the legislature with all the corrections from the original law. So if you go on the legislative page, you will find this law exactly that way, okay? The second part is that the state of New Jersey, as you know, it was all over the newspapers, have given us grades. The self-assessment, which I also included in that package, was given to us last May as a district, all the districts, and all our anti-bullying specialists had to grade what they've done so far in the area of anti-bullying. I'm going to try to rush this. All right. They collected the data on the information they themselves physically had in their hands. We were CUSAC'd the year before, and everything that was on your grading, you had to have backup documentation. And that's how we approached this anti-bullying grading, self-assessment. Little did we know that that was going to be the thing that they gave us the grade on. So what I'm going to do here is this is the grading system on that self-assessment. West New York had 65 over 75, which is 86.6% on a scale of 100%. Okay? So for the first year of self-assessment and making sure all the documentation was done, this is the grade that they gave themselves. However, we did not know that that was the only thing they were basing the grade on. I'm going to show you quickly the other data that's submitted. We have it done monthly to me, and then I turn it over to Mr. Fowler. This is what is done twice a year by my office. It is a submission of all of the data collected on the workshops, on the individual classroom activities, on bullying. We have to have it documented, how many people involved, who was there, etc., etc. I used this was from the beginning of the school year when we had a lot of activities because of the Week of Respect, etc. So I used this as an example. There is a lot of work that goes into the anti-bullying Bill of Rights in this district. And if you realize that it's 65 over 75, we did pretty good, because in last Sunday's Star Ledger, they had the entire state's grades. And let me tell you something, we look like shining stars. So, and for those that questioned about the grades, the number of bullying incidents, let me just go over this quickly. This is what we reported in January. We had 31 reports of attempted bullying. They have 10 days to investigate the allegation. There's a committee, there's an anti-bullying specialist who's been trained, and it is up to the specialist, the committee, if they have to meet, and the building principal to decide whether it is a violation of the law and it's interfering with their education, or it is just kids being kids, or a conflict, or it's the cousin didn't like the other cousin's color hair, or something like that. It is not considered bullying. It takes an investigation, research into different things before the determination is made. So there were 31, this is from September to December. There were 31 incidents, only 14 were actually deemed bullying. Those go to Mr. Fowler, they are discussed with the superintendent or one of us over the consequences. Sometimes the consequences are done immediately, like suspension, and then the child, has to meet with the social worker. This is all documented in our reports at the end of the month. So I'm rushing it. So that is, I gave you the whole outlook of what the bullying grade stood for. We are one of the top graders, and I think that you should be very proud for the first year that our anti-bullying specialists in every school did their job. And thank you very much for giving me this time.
Thank you, Ms. Lazaro, you and your staff for all the fine work you're doing for our special ed program and our anti-bullying campaign. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to bring up Ms. Clara Brito Herrera, Assistant Superintendent, who's going to give a presentation on Global Connection, our Global Connection program.
I like that today.
I promise, Superintendent, I'll be under Ms. Lazaro in time. Good evening, board members and members of the public. I am very excited tonight to share with you a new program. I'm sorry, I'm getting old, so I'm going to be using my glasses. Never used them before. We're very excited to launch a new program beginning April 1st. And what's exciting about this program and offering up, as Ms. Lazaro mentioned earlier, we try to offer the most possible opportunities to our students here in West New York. And what is more exciting than anything about this program is that we're going to be able to bring our students closer to students around the world with a simple digital connection. Talk about digital learning and the new era of technology. I'm sure Mr. Chang will attest to that since he's a computer major. One of the most important discoveries in today's day and age in education has been the use of technology and its implementation into the curriculum. This has given way to digital learning. Technology and digital learning opened a world of opportunities for all of our students in our classrooms, especially the students here in West New York. They do not have the socioeconomic means as other students may have to travel around the world and acquire these experiences. This is immeasurable. This technology infusion in our curriculum has provided our students with opportunities for research on the spot, where we no longer have to wait to find out the information. We have been able to provide virtual field trips and experiences right within our own classrooms. And now we're going to take it a step further, and we're going to be able to discuss and offer opportunities to discuss similarities and differences within cultures around the world. We're going to be able to open a forum to discuss curriculum in many angles and many disciplines. And we're going to be able to offer our students a rich language exchange which has never happened before. With that said, I would like to now bring Mr. Acosta, who will be spearheading this effort for us. We will be initiating this pilot with our 5th grade gifted and talented students in the entire district. He will go into a little bit more into the aspect of what we'll be doing as the first baseline pilot. And I believe, every day this develops in conversations with Gijón, Spain, which is the first connection we're going to be making. We already have the school designated. And they're already talking about flying with it with high school students across content areas. And Mr. Acosta, who is very ambitious and he loves to challenge our students, would like to take it to a different country after we initiate the first pilot with a different group of students. So with that said, thank you, board members, for always standing behind our curriculum and our education. And I'll leave you with Mr. Acosta.
Thank you for providing me this opportunity to present to you this initiative, the Global Connections Program. In today's interconnected world, our prosperity does not come from within our borders alone. We're increasingly interdependent on countries and individuals from around the globe. In order for our nation to thrive, we must invest in thoughtful relationships with Africans, Asians, Latinos, Europeans, Middle Easterners, and so forth. These relationships must not be limited to diplomats, military, or political leaders. Perhaps our most important diplomats are our nation's children, our future leaders, and our future opinion shapers. It makes sense to step back and consider how we prepare our young people to engage with their peers in all corners of the world. Meaningful cross-cultural connections between our younger generations can help bolster innovation and prepare the next generation for an increasingly global world. It is imperative that more American young people learn about the rest of the world. Thanks to technology, through virtual exchange programs like the one we're initiating here in West New York, students can interact directly with other students and create forums to engage students with individuals with a variety of backgrounds in conversations that can open minds. Today, universities in the United States, in Europe and Asia, the Middle East are providing classroom opportunities for a diverse range of their students to participate in facilitated face-to-face discussions on issues, beliefs, and customs that often divide us. These programs are being thoughtfully integrated into curriculum. Research has shown that these programs have a positive impact on students. Technology now provides students the opportunity to engage across cultures and geographies, and that's what we intend to do. Our sister city will be Gijón, which is in the northern portion of Spain. Our program objectives are as follows. We are planning to integrate technology using video conferencing, using Skype as a platform. We will be having cultural exchange amongst 5th grade classes. There will be language exchange as well. Teachers will benefit because they will be collaborating on projects and lessons, so this provides for professional development across the oceans. Digital learning, of course, will be cross-curricular. So we're not just targeting language and culture. We're going to expand it to science and social studies and technology as well. In terms of technology, we're going to be focusing on Standard 8.1, and we will be looking at the progress indicators, which state that we'll participate in online learning communities with learners from other countries to understand their perspectives on a global problem, and issues and propose possible solutions. So we'll be working together on problems and solutions. Program participants. In West New York, we're going to include all elementary schools from public school 1 through 6. It will be our 5th grade students. There's a total of 75 students which will be linked to 75 students in Gijón, Spain. And our 6 GMT teachers are on board. In Gijón, we're using a school called Colegio Montedeva, and they are using 3 classes of 25 students, are self-contained, using 3 general ed teachers and 3 specialists. Music, art, and I believe geography, which is social studies for them. A little information on the demographics and profile of Gijón. As you can see on the map, it's in the northern region. It's in the Principality of Asturias. It's a major industrial city. It is a port city surrounded by farmlands. The population is 275,274 as of 2013. So it is much bigger than Luxembourg. They are in a strategic position because they have access to the Bay of Biscay, which continues on to the English. You can connect over to England, very close to France. Some of the students are actually taking French as well, so that's another possibility for our students to engage in French exchanges, not only Spanish. The Cantabrian Mountains are to the south, and they also have an immigrant population, as I've been speaking with teachers there. Their population, immigrant population, the more that comes from Africa, Ethiopia primarily, and Senegal. Asia, we have students, believe it or not, in Asturias that are from China and Taiwan. These are some pictures that were sent to us from Gijón so that you have a perspective of where it is and how it is located. This is the school that we'll be working with, and this is a picture that they've actually sent us to introduce their students to ours. This is one of the 5th grade groups that we'll be working with. I believe this dialogue between children and teachers at an international level will be invaluable, thus bringing digital learning to all involved. I hope that you will support this program, and we're looking forward to putting this into place as soon as possible. They are very thrilled with us, and as Ms. Herrera had clearly mentioned earlier, I've actually gotten proposals from their high school. They would like to link up with our high schools if possible, and make this an international success. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Ms. Herrera, for the good presentation. We have one more presentation to bring forward today. I guess you've been seeing on the news how the Educational Testing Service is mandating some changes to the SAT test scores for our high school students as they get into college. So we're going to give you a brief synopsis of what's going to take place for our high school students in the future with the new mandated the SAT testing. For that presentation, Assistant Superintendent Stacy Olivero, please come forward.
Good evening, everyone. I know you have been sitting for a long time, had a few presentations, and I will go very quickly. My superintendent gave me the sign already. Earlier last week, we had a resolutions meeting, and one of our trustees was present and brought up a very good point. exactly what does the public know about the SAT changes that are about to take place. The changes will occur in 2016. However, I thought about it long and hard, and I said, you know, really, if I'm going to do a presentation on SAT changes, I'm going to do a lead-in so that the public is really in tune and aware of what it is we actually do to provide college and career readiness for all of our students. So, where does it all begin, this college and career readiness mandate from the state of New Jersey? It begins in our early childhood program. We have an outstanding program that has been in existence for, I'm so glad Adam is sitting in the front because he's nodding yes, and he's just like giving us the go-ahead. Our early childhood program has been in existence for about 14 years now. It is one of the most successful programs in the nation. I am pleased to report that I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, a contingency from California came out, about 40 individuals, legislatures, educators, administrators, teachers, parents, to view our program. So I believe wholeheartedly that we in West New York provide for a very good early childhood education program for our 3- and 4-year-olds. We utilize the Tools of a Mind curriculum, which is one of the 5 state-approved curriculums in the state of New Jersey. What do they promote? If you have an early childhood student living in your home, we promote higher order thinking skills, planning and mapping. The students actually spend part of their morning mapping out their activities, mapping out journals, what they will be writing about, what they will be creating. We also, in the early childhood program, are very fortunate to provide social and emotional support services. The early childhood has a PERT team. It's similar to our intervention team in the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school. We have a certified school psychologist, Ms. Lazara, am I correct? We have a certified social worker. We have a certified LDTC in that program that are not part of our child study team. They are part of the PERT team. The Early Childhood Center also has its own child study team and attends to the needs of those students. What do we focus on? We focus on language acquisition and language development, which is what we see in the end of the road when our students leave us, when they've graduated, that they have acquired the language skills and all of the developmental tools that they need to make them college and career ready. We focus on numeration and number reasoning. We focus on the visual and performing arts. All of our schools' groupings, early childhood, elementary, middle school, and high school, focus on wellness. Mr. Faraccio is not here right now, but Mr. Faraccio with Sal Valenza and my predecessor, Rosemary Donnelly, did a tremendous lead into wellness and physical activity. And of course, at the Early Childhood Center, we provide parental support through parent trainings, computer technology education programs, language programs for our parents, workshops on health, mental health, physical well-being of our students. We bring in physicians from the community that offer up resources to our parents that our parents may not be aware are available to them. So that's where it begins. Where does it grow? It grows in our elementary schools. As you all know, our elementary schools are K-6, kindergarten through 6, with a heavy, heavy slant on literacy. We implemented the National Common Core in 2010, along with 47 other states, and all of our curriculums in the West New York School District have been rewritten with the county to be aligned to the Common Core curriculums. We focus on reading and writing development, and of course concepts in mathematics, science, social studies, visual and performing arts. Again, physical wellness. Every school has a wellness committee, every school has our nurse, every school has a child study team that is designated to provide those services. At the we provide for collaboration amongst our students. We do peer tutoring. We do peer strategies that allow our students to collaborate and work together on projects. We introduce in the elementary school conflict mediation, peer. And it's a very basic level, as you'll see as we go on into the middle school and the high school. The programs are developed to meet the needs that are age appropriate for our students. We provide social and emotional support for students and their families via a social worker. Every school has their own social worker. Every school has their own child study team. Every school has their own anti-bullying coordinator in that building that works hand in hand with the principals and the assistant principals to ensure that our children are in a very safe, nurturing environment. We provide for extended day and extended year services. Of course, our special needs students always participate in an extended school year. We have a after-school program and a Saturday academy at the elementary level for our students who are struggling and need a little extra support. And we also have an enrichment program during the summer now for grades 4 through 6, which allows those students that did not get some of these extra services after school or on Saturday, the opportunity to participate in some extension of the school year in a very innovative way, because they utilize visual and performing arts, criminal justice, our G&T staff is involved. So everybody is involved to provide the services. For our 6th graders, leaving our 6th grade to go to the 7th grade, which is really a whole new set of rules, we have provided Project Jump, which every 6th grader participates in 1 week in August. And they go and they actually meet with middle school teachers, and they learn small things, how to open a combination locker, to very big things, how to take notes, how to do close reads on texts. So those are the types of activities that are there. And of course, we have our intramurals. I believe I heard Mrs. Herrera speak, I heard Ms. Lazara speak about PARC, which is the test that our students will be facing in the 2014-15, which is all about college and career readiness. And I did, and I'm sorry I'm taking so long, but I did want to show you some of the sample questions. And these are 3rd grade sample items that I have. And the board members, you will get this presentation so you can look at it at your leisure. So we're going to look at some 3rd grade. And it will be an online test for our students. Actually, number 1 school is piloting a field test for the state of New Jersey in our 4th grade language arts classes. So this is what the students will see. Something very similar to this. And this is the language arts. So unlike testing of years gone by that I was very familiar with myself, the student, this is a 3rd grade sample, will get a text to read, and then they will have answers to choose from, which is very typical of what we know of testing, except that the platform is very different, that it's an online. Now, this is strictly vocabulary development, which our teachers work on every day. What's a little different about the PARC is the assessment, is that it now asks the student to go back and look at what they've read, look at what answer they have chosen for number 1, and then actually base part B on their choice. So it's a very rigorous test. This is for 3rd grades. So not only are we trying to give our students the technology that they need, but the rigor of the content is very different also. I'm pleased to say that we have some funding and we're going to pilot Chromebooks as we prepare for integrating digital technology into our curriculums and everyday life for our students. It is their pencil and paper. That's exactly what it is now. And we are piloting, as I said, our principals and our assistant principals are presently in the process of writing proposals to us with goals, with their objectives, with resources, with an evaluation system, target population. So that is, I think it was actually due today, Mrs. Herrera, with us, right? Okay, so we will be reviewing them to see which school really, I mean, every school will participate, but anyway. And so the student will go here. Now this is very different for our students. As you can see, drop and drag the 3 details from the story. So our students will have to manipulate this, the whole answer process.
Before we open the floor for public comment, I'll ask the board members if they have any questions regarding any of the items on the consent agenda, including business and finance, curriculum, operations, special services.
Yes, I want to remove from the consent agenda 2.10.
I'm sorry, which number?
2.10.
Are there any questions regarding any items on the consent agenda? Seeing none, we'll open the floor now for public comment. I ask the public, in accordance with West New York Board of Education Bylaw 0167, public participation in board meetings adopted April 22nd, 2009. Each participant shall be limited to 3 minutes in duration. Please approach the microphone and state your name and address for the record. If there's anyone who wishes to address the board at this time.
He knows it better than you.
See,
1.5.
the microphone has been located on this side of the
Who's bidding? How hard is the bid?
Sorry, you need a name or? Yes. Patrick Cullen. Yeah, I recall last month, or the last time I was here, address 72 67th Street. Last time, thank you, Mr. Roth. The last time, Alan. The last time I spoke, I believe it was 5 minutes, and now it's down to 3 minutes?
The policy has been the same.
It's always been 3 minutes?
We may have extended it. We may have just extended it.
Oh, all right, well, I appreciate your graces. I hope I can rely on your graces to get some more extensions here. Okay, what I'd like to cover first is the appointing members via the vacancy. Your page 2 of 21 of the new bylaws that you're trying to implement, and you're not doing the bylaws tonight, are you? You're not voting on them tonight, right? Good. I think whoever wrote that was confused with the actual state statute, which is NJSA 18 Alpha 12-15, because you could read what the actual statute says on page 221-041, what you recommend. What the actual state statute says, by a majority vote, and I'm quoting from NJSA 18 Alpha 12-15F or Foxtrot, by a majority vote of the remaining members of the board after the vacancy occurs in all the cases, each member so appointed shall serve until the organizational meeting following the next annual election unless he is appointed to fill a vacancy occurring within the 60 days immediately preceding such election to fill a term extending beyond such election, in which case he shall serve until the organizational meeting following the second annual election next succeeding the occurrence of the vacancy, and any vacancy for the remainder of the term shall be filled at the annual election or second annual election next succeeding the occurrence of the vacancy as the case may be. I really encourage everyone to read what I just said. NJSA 18 Alpha 12-15 F as in Foxtrot, because it contradicts what you're saying. You're giving people here whose terms may extend, who may expire at the next election, you're allowing them to have another year for free. And this only applies in this law if their term does not expire at the time of the next election. So whoever wrote this regulation totally misinterpreted what I just read, word for word.
We'll look at it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Do I still have any time? Thank you. Okay. Okay, I believe Mr. Chang identified one of my concerns earlier, but I'm concerned about committee as a whole. All right, what is a committee as a whole? Can the committee as a whole, because it says no official action taken at this meeting unless it's advised. That sort of contradicts the letter and spirit of the other bylaws that you're trying to change to say that it's not going to count because it's not a quorum. So is the committee as a whole a quorum?
Committee of the whole is the entire board.
Yeah, all right. It does say you can meet at any time. Okay, so as a committee as a whole, are you just meeting for one specific purpose or for any purpose?
Could be any purpose that's advertised.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, I think I understand what you're saying. And that has been the case before this proposed change, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. The last point I'd like to make, if I have time, was conflict of interest. What I find that I have problems with is that it seems, on the one hand, the statute NJSA 18 Alpha 12-24, which does talk about conflict of interest, says in the event of a board member has a conflict of interest where the board member will act in his or her official capacity, the board member must remove himself from any discussions, meetings, informal or formal, committee meetings, and/or vote regarding. But then,
Sir,
when
if you could start wrapping it up.
yeah, okay, right, thank you, all right. But then it seems that what you've given him an out, or her an out, in the event the board member is unsure whether he or another member has a conflict of interest, or in violation of 18 Alpha 12-24, the board attorney determines if there's a conflict of interest or not.
Yeah, that's
right.
Exactly how it happened.
Right, and you're appointed by Florio, what law firm do you represent?
I work with Florio, Perucci, Steinhardt, and Faber.
Right, and when did your law firm get this contract?
I actually am not sure.
Can anyone answer that?
They got it at the reorg meeting last year.
Yes, and last year we were an appointed board. Now we're moving to an elected board. So in other words, as an appointed board, one can assume that all the members were acting under the auspices of the mayor. So I'll suggest that I have no problem with the attorney determining whether or not there's conflict of interest, but it should be an attorney that's selected by the elected members of the board. Right now we only have 2 elected members. We have Mr. Chang and Ms. Palermo. So we should hold off on that until the elected. And by the way, since you board members do appoint the attorneys, wait until we have a full elected board here, and then appoint an attorney that will evaluate things objectively to the will of your board, not to the will of Mayor Roque. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Iris Rodriguez, 425 DA Street. My concern was on the constant resolutions 1.5. I wanted to know who were the bidders and how high and low the bids are.
If you see me after the meeting, I'd be glad to provide this for you. I don't have it right here with me at this moment in time. And can I get your name again? I'm sorry.
Iris.
Rodriguez. Iris. I'm sorry?
Rodriguez.
Rodriguez. Okay.
Hold on. There's no bidders yet. It's just allowing us to go out for bid. There's no bidders yet. It's just giving us permission. The board is giving Mr. Franchetta the ability to advertise. We haven't gone out for bid yet. It's just giving us permission to advertise.
Francisco Ferrero, 5206 Bergline, West New York, New Jersey. Good evening, everybody. A few quick questions. If
if you have 7 members that are, I'm talking about the quorum bylaw that you want to change. If only 7 members show up, what would the quorum be if only 6 members show up for just a majority?
So it would be a simple majority. The reason for the quorum is twofold. One is in order to make sure that a majority of the board votes, but there's a requirement also for personnel, for bond issues, now that we're able to bond, before we weren't able to bond. And what that means is that there has to be 5 affirmative votes to pass a personnel issue. There would be, it's the majority of the full board. So if we only have 7 show up, we still need, if we want to hire somebody, we still need 5.
Okay, on certain issues, okay. Let me ask you this, Mr. Roth, or Madam Attorney. If you set up this subcommittee that you're trying to set up, anything that this subcommittee decides on will be brought to the public floor before it gets enacted. It'll be voted on by a full board before it goes forward.
Absolutely. What happens is, in these committee meetings, nothing that they do in committee meetings is binding. They have to bring it back to the full board, and the full board will then discuss the recommendations of the committee and vote on it as a full board.
And the people will be able to speak and voice their opinion on it beforehand.
If it's brought up to the full board, yes. If it's something that's discussed in there that they decide not to go up, that's not even worth it, it may not ever come to a full board, but generally, there's a committee report, they make recommendations, the recommendations come before the whole board, you're able to voice any of your concerns about anything that comes before the full board, and then they vote on it.
Will there be any minutes provided of these special meetings? Because, I mean, not to be rude, but who are they to know what we'd like to know and what we would not like to know?
They're not, it's not an actual, what happens is not an actual meeting. It is a kind of a committee work session where they're able to talk about things that are advisory, consultative, deliberative, and I don't believe the law requires any minutes to be kept of committee meetings.
Now, these would be issues that beforehand would have been provided for us to see, witness, and hear in the regular meetings. Are these going to be issues now that are going to be broken down that before the public would have been informed of? And now these little issues that may not, you may not think we're concerned about, and we are they going to be held in private meetings and decided on in private meetings where before the public was allotted of knowing about them?
All issues that they're going to discuss they can't do anything as a committee. Everything that the committee does, it's kind of just it's kind of more of an information gathering process what a committee does. They kind of take everything together, they take the recommendations of the district, they put everything together, and then they present everything to the full board. They can't take any action as a committee because it's not a majority of the whole board, and they can't do any sort of action as a committee. So they bring everything up again in a committee report at the meeting for you to all hear what happened at the committee report.
So a committee member can't direct the superintendent to do something. Like, give me a perfect example. Iris came up and asked about the bidding for the food services. The finance committee can't say go out and bid. They only can say we should go out for bid.
We should go out to bid. Then it'll be presented here and we will be informed.
That's the way it works.
I mean, my only 2 cents on this is, and Mr. Chen brought up some good points on how this subcommittees could work in a great manner. My concern is, as always, there's always a scheme with you guys behind it. You know what I mean? And come on, Alan, from past history, we know that we have to be weary with almost everything that gets recommended. What happens if the finance committee or the committee to approve $1 million for whatever happens to be seated by Duval, Silvio, Alam, and Vilma? I just like to ask the board members to be very weary of this. We know to be vigilant with the board that we have and the shenanigans that have been going on now for over a year.
Sir,
so please, yes, I will, ma'am. I just like to say, hey, this subcommittee might be a great idea. Let's wait until we get the new elected members on the board, so you know that these committees are representative of the people, and now Silvio or Dr. Roque. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board? Seeing no one else, at this time the public portion of the meeting is now concluded. The board will now recess into executive session to discuss items which fall into an exception of the open public meetings and permits the board to have private discussions that deal with specific exceptions contained in New Jersey statutes annotated 10:4-12B.
Human beings anyway.
No, they're not. Yeah. You don't know what they're saying.
I'm not saying, you know, you can be a strong
You can't talk about
business, but you won't get up in front of the microphone. You don't have the phone to get up. It's not being strong physically, it's having a heart to be able to speak. But everybody who speaks out for justice gets killed. Gandhi, fucking Mahdi.
So we should just shut up.
Fucking Martin Luther King. Because they don't want you to wake up people. You know, Jesus Christ. You're around waking people up, you get some momentum. Look at Barabbas. They let him go. He was a fucking criminal, he was a fucking rapist, and they fucking crucified people.
Let's see what's going to happen now.
Why do they take so fucking long, dude?
Because you're going to talk over there.
I
Like
saw
recording
that.
me.
Yeah, hey, look at her face, bro. Some people you can size them up by just their look.
You guys hear it?
Better word. Even better word.
All right, we'll reconvene the meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn executive session and reconvene in public? May I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Alam?
Yes.
Trustee Chang?
Yes.
Trustee Duval? Yes. Trustee Gasadui? Trustee Palermo?
Yes.
Trustee Parkinson? Yes. Vice President Dr. Pizzatelli?
Yes.
President Reyes?
Yes.
All right, at this point, for the consent agenda, there'll be two items that will be removed from the consent agenda. The first one is item 1.3 is the paid bill list. And the other item that is being removed is item 2.10, which is the District Evaluation Administrative Committee, WNYE 4NJ revision. I believe Adam has a conflict with a member on the committee. That's why he might be related to one of the committee members. That's well, they're compensated for their day. Okay, so with that in mind, are there any other motions that anyone that wishes to be removed from the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, all matters hereunder are considered to be routine in nature and will be enacted in one motion. Any board member may request that an item be removed from the consent agenda for separate consideration. Any items removed from the consent agenda will be discussed and acted upon separately, immediately following consideration of the remaining items on the consent agenda. A motion or second is not required to remove an item from the consent agenda. All resolutions acted upon at this meeting are available to be viewed this evening, and copies can be obtained by contacting the school board secretary's office. Okay, with all that in mind, with just those two changes, may I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as modified?
Motion.
May I have a second? Okay, Trustee Alam?
Yes.
Trustee Chang?
Yes.
Trustee Duval? Yes. Trustee Gasadui?
Yes.
Okay, and you said you're abstaining on 3.1 and 2.2 because of the PTO. Okay. And Trustee Palermo?
Yes.
Trustee Parkinson?
Yes.
Vice President Dr. Pizzatelli?
Yes.
President Reyes? Okay. All right, now we'll move on to the items that were removed from the consent agenda. The first one is item 1.3, which was the bill listing. May I have a motion?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Alam?
Yes.
Trustee Chang?
Abstain.
Trustee Duval?
Yes.
Trustee Gasadui? Sarah?
Oh.
Is This is the bill listing? So you're abstaining? Okay. Trustee Palermo?
Yes.
Trustee Parkinson?
Yes.
Vice President Dr. Pizzatelli?
Yes.
President Reyes? Okay, and the last one is item 2.10, which is the District Evaluation by Auxiliary Committee. May I have a motion? May I have a second? Trustee Alon?
Yes.
Trustee Cheng?
Yes.
Trustee Duval?
Yes.
Trustee Casadui?
Yes.
Trustee Palermo?
Yes.
Trustee Parkinson?
Abstain.
Vice President Dr. Pizzatelli?
Yes.
President Reyes?
Yes.
All right, that portion of the meeting's done. Now we'll reconvene with public comments if there's anyone who wishes to address the board in accordance with New York Board of Education Bylaw 0167, public participation in board meetings adopted April 22nd, 2009. Each participant shall be limited to 3 minutes in duration. Please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Patrick Cullen, 72 67th Street, West New York, New Jersey. I'd like to know, and I guess my question would probably be directed to the council of the board, the representatives from Governor Florio et al. Considering the fact that the Board of Commissioners voted on February 19th to move the election to November, and considering the fact that they didn't allow people to speak, they didn't allow Commissioner Wiley to remove from the board's consent agenda that item and have a discussion the way that you do allow members here to remove items from a consent agenda without having to have a motion or a second. Considering the fact that NJSA 40:alpha-9-22-5 says no local government officer or employee shall act in his official capacity in any matter where he, a member of his immediate family or a business organization in which he has an interest, has a direct or indirect financial or personal involvement that might reasonably be expected to impair his objectivity, and considering that the town code, chapter 36, article 2, the Code of Ethics, mentions the same law, considering the fact that there was a motion here last month that did not pass to move the election from April to November, the vote was 4-4 with one person who was not here, and considering the fact that the mayor has a sister, Ada Roque, who works for the Board of Education, and Commissioner Caridad Rodriguez, 2 of the 3 yes votes, has 1 or 2 children, daughters I believe, that work here, is it possible that the council representing this board, even though you're appointed by the mayor, that might be a conflict of interest, could possibly join a lawsuit that Frank Ferrero has filed on behalf of the citizens of this town against West New York for their illegal action on February 19th?
First of all, we're hired by the Board of Education. I'm not going to comment on anything that the town council does or the mayor does or anyone else because I am the attorney for the Board of Education as an entity, not for anyone else.
But if the Board of Commissioners usurp the authority of this board in an illegal manner, then shouldn't the Board of Commissioners mouthpiece, and I use a pedantic, I use a street term for that, I'm sorry, attorney, sorry, I'm referring to my West Side Story lingo, shouldn't the attorney for the board represent the board against the town in this matter? And maybe I could ask someone else, like the president or the vice chair or the superintendent, to weigh in on this matter. But I think that the chairman may have a conflict of interest because she works for Mayor Roque. She works in the town hall. So maybe the vice chair can speak about this.
If I may, there is litigation, Patrick, and I'd be loath for the board to comment on open litigation.
Oh, you mean that there is pending litigation?
As far as I know, there's an order to show cause filed by Frank.
Right, and I'm asking you if you can, if this body, through its attorney, could join Frank Ferrero's lawsuit because the vote was 4-4 with Miss Rita was not there at the time. Therefore it didn't pass. Therefore the election should be in April. And because the town did not follow the guidelines of the statute, and because the town is inexorably linked to the Board of Education, because the mayor used to appoint the Board of Education members, and because the town serves the people whose children go to these schools in which you provide service and oversight, I think that it would be incumbent upon this board and its attorney to think seriously about joining the lawsuit of Mr. Ferrero to see that we have justice.
Can you wrap up? Thank you for your comment.
No, I'd like to hear your response, beside the patent one that you gave me 2 minutes ago.
That's the only response that you're going to get from me on that, sir.
Is that what you were told to say, ma'am? I'd like some transparency here.
I wasn't told to say anything. I'm again stating that I'm acting in the capacity of the Board of Education, and I thank you for your comment on this.
Well, all right, you're not a member of the board other than your attorney. I'd like to hear comments from the members of the board on this issue.
Sir, if they'd like to comment, they can, but your 3 minutes you're already at 4 minutes and 40 seconds.
All right, well, feel free, any members to comment.
Madam President. Madam President. I have a point of information regarding that. So, we received communication at the very beginning of this meeting regarding the town resolution moving the school board election. I'd just like to know for the record if the Board of Education received notice of this meeting before it happened.
I assume it's noticed as any other public meeting is noticed.
But did this board specifically receive notice? That's what I'm asking. Did this board specifically receive notice about this meeting before it happened?
I don't recall receiving anything.
Well, I mean, I was asking Superintendent Fauta all the way until the meeting itself whether or not we received communication. I personally attended this meeting last Wednesday, and the very interesting thing I thought about this meeting was that in the first row it actually said reserved for school board members. I went, Joan went, I believe President Reyes also went, and what really kind of confused me, and the reason why I kept asking if we received notice or not, is because the moving of the school board election from April to November was recently amended to say that affected boards, including the Board of Education, must receive adequate notice before the meeting. As far as I know, we never received notice of this meeting.
I never received a notice.
And I'd also like to say, as Mr. Coleman pointed out, no member of the public, including ourselves, had any opportunity to speak at that meeting, because if anyone's gone on the internet to try to watch what happened at that meeting, I'm not even sure if it was a legal meeting, frankly. I'm not sure why we refused to challenge this resolution that we believe it's a resolution that we received.
Matthew, I want to clarify to you that I didn't come to the meeting how a Board of Education member. I was in the meeting because usually every month I go to the meeting when the meeting is not the day that I have the. For years I has been going to the meeting, so I didn't attend that specific meeting as a Board of Education member. I attend as a normal citizen that live in West New York for so many years, and I usually go to the meeting monthly.
Okay, so did you receive?
The only thing that I have to say about that is specific. I wasn't in the meeting as a Board of Education member.
Okay.
I have a follow-up question to what Matthew asked. We all got an email asking whether or not we would like to have a meeting challenging this. I would ask the people who voted against that, or who elected, the board members who elected not to attend the meeting, to explain why, because there were significant irregularities.
I hope there was no email communication between board members.
regarding what?
I don't, and my
There was a
email is...
comment that there was a communication between board members.
Well, Alan, I was discussing with Kevin and John regarding our bylaws and calling a special meeting. So we were just discussing, attempting to call a special meeting for this purpose to discuss challenging this resolution. So I was merely contacting the other board members individually, in fact, asking them if they would be interested in attending a special board meeting.
It was not a mass email, but
And
there was no meeting. There were irregularities, and I think council should be aware that special notice is required to be given to the Board of Education. That's a recently amended
I will look
section.
into, after this meeting, we'll look into the notices we received.
That's got to be brought to Donald Squincy, who's the town attorney.
So we'll look into all of this, but again, as of now, it's not something that we should kind of be posturing into. We have the notice, we'll bring it back to the firm, we'll look into it, we'll receive guidance from your administration and guidance from you on what to do.
But time is of the essence because, time is passing. The election is supposed to be in April. And the hearing, I understand, on Frank's motion is coming up very shortly.
I don't believe I understood what you just said. So I would think I'd like it a little clearer.
The notice, again.
The notice of what?
The notice that we received from the town that the meeting's being moved to, or the election's being moved to November. It was brought to the board today. Again,
Today?
No, I received, it's state stamp. You have a copy there.
Okay.
We're all mailed a copy.
Okay. I will bring it back to the individual that covers this meeting normally, and I will discuss with them and see what we can go forward doing with that. I'm not your normal attorney that sits at the meeting, so again, I wasn't fully aware that this was an issue as it is, but again, we'll look into this, and now that you've all voiced concerns, we will absolutely look into what can be done.
It's my understanding that the meeting was held. There were some issues that allegedly occurred at the town meeting. Town commissioners, as the properly stated here, Mr. Collins said, that they have the right to move the meeting, move the election. Either the town does or we do. We did not. The town exercised its right to move the election from April to November. Whatever issues or irregularities that may or may not have occurred is the subject of litigation now. As far as I know, filed an order to show cause. The briefs were filed by the town's brief is due tomorrow or the next day, I believe, and the judge is probably going to be issuing an order from the bench based upon this type of thing after oral argument. I don't know what the oral argument, Frank, you might know what the oral argument is. I don't know.
Friday, no.
This Friday? So this Friday, so it's 1 day away. So if anybody's interested, the courtroom's open. You can go watch the decision, but I'm assuming Judge Bariso is going to issue. Still before Judge Bariso, right, Frank?
Judge Bariso, room 908.
Yeah, so before Judge Bariso is the head judge for Hudson County. He's hearing the case. He's an excellent judge. And he'll probably be issuing, for this kind of motion, he'll probably issue a decision from the bench. So at this point in time, the judge may not allow an intervener because it's due, all arguments Friday. So, an intervener is when an outside party asks the judge to join the lawsuit on one side or the other.
Why haven't we then been told this?
Why haven't we told what?
Everything that you're telling us now.
I just found out about the order to show cause today when we were talking about the buildings with Mr. DeMarco in the town. I didn't know the order to show cause was filed.
And our attorneys that we hire, You knew nothing, your firm?
I
mean, you got no notification?
Well, the notice would officially come
Notice
to
would have
Kevin.
gone to the superintendent, it wouldn't have gone to the firm.
Nobody contacted. Kevin is the repository for obtaining legal documents, so any notices would be filed with him.
So isn't there a
Well, we're not a party, we're not necessarily.
But aren't we supposed to be notified
Of the lawsuit? Not
of
necessarily.
any of this?
Not of the
No.
lawsuit. No.
When our thing is overturned, we still don't get to know about it?
Well, they have the right to do it. If we didn't vote, they still have the right to do it. They just don't have the right, the town doesn't have the right to change back from November to April, but either we or the town could do it. Town could have done it before we voted if you want.
The issue is not whether the town has the right to do it. The issue is that it was done with a great deal of irregularity and non-compliance with the law.
And that's why
the
the
problem.
lawsuit, I'm assuming that's why Frank filed the lawsuit.
And that's why it's troubling that counsel for the board is just saying, well, she'll look into it when there's a
It's too
hearing on
late.
Friday. If you don't try to intervene, you'll never know whether or not the judge would have allowed you to.
And secondly, we always have a different council sitting here. And that's not good, to say, I'm not your regular one. It's quite unprofessional.
All I can ask is, I mean, I'm not looking to move this long, but if the board member makes a motion to attempt to intervene and it's passed by the majority of the board,
Motion.
y'all can do that.
If you have a motion to intervene, if you get a second and vote on it.
Second.
Now, just before you vote, I just want to tell you, even if you vote and she files the papers, the judge may not allow it, so just as an FYI. So
It may be an FYI, but it may be that it wasn't us that's responsible, but the firm that we have hired.
We received no notification.
Make a motion to close the meeting, I don't know, that's what I'm saying.
No, that's not what he asked. That's not the motion I seconded. He asked if someone was going to make a motion to intervene.
No, that was to finish the meeting.
Well, no, that's not what...
We're still in the public portion.
Do you want to start again?
Excuse me, please go to the microphone, because this is what I understand.
You need to understand.
Well, you misunderstood. He said it very clearly.
I
If someone makes a motion to intervene, you said motion, I
No, I
seconded
said
it.
motion because that was to close the meeting.
We are still
You
in the public
misunderstood,
session.
So that's an invalid motion. and that is-
I make the motion.
We are still in
I make a
public
motion
session.
to intervene.
Is there someone offering a motion to intervene?
I just did.
Well, there's a motion.
I second.
There's a motion on the floor, Tom. There's a motion
Is
on
there
the
motion
floor.
on the floor?
To close the meeting.
No,
She first.
excuse me, you
No,
asked
no,
for a
no, no,
motion
no, no.
to
I'm not allowed
intervene.
to make a motion. What motion she made was to close.
You asked for a motion to intervene, and she said motion. She did not say motion to close the meeting.
I need to make a motion to close the floor, that's the meeting.
No.
That's not what you said.
Still out in the public, and we're still there.
That's probably.
Public session is
Adam,
still
just,
comments.
this lady's crazy. He's on the street.
It's, we never close public comment, it's still.
So,
What are we doing now? Let's try to.
once again,
let's
to
redo.
make a motion to intervene.
I second that motion.
All right,
Motion, okay. There's a motion to intervene. It's been moved by Ms. Palermo, seconded by Mr. Chang. What has to happen now is that to clarify the motion so everybody understands, is to authorize Florio Perucci on behalf of the board to request of Judge Pariso to intervene in this matter. What needs to be clarified is intervene for what purpose?
For inadequate notice.
Okay, so to challenge the ruling of let me try to clarify. It's to challenge the vote of the
Of moving the election?
Yeah, because we didn't receive adequate notice.
But we have to specify what she's going to do. She can go in on the side of the town for all I know. But that's why I'm asking what the board is looking to do. To challenge the authorization of the town to move the election.
Well, so the first part is that the Board of Education did not receive adequate notice of this meeting. That's one. And to challenge this resolution based on that. That's specifically what we're...
It did not receive any notice required under the statute.
So, with that being said, the motion on the floor is to challenge, or to ask for, to intervene in the pending suit, and I have no idea what it's called.
I'll have to find out. Now, you weren't served it, we weren't served it, we'll have to find out.
It's a true intervention.
Okay.
So, you have to make a motion to intervene first. And you have to do it tomorrow. It's set for
Friday.
At which point in time,
We may or may not be permissible.
the board is requesting, this is what the vote is, folks, just shh, everybody, this is what the vote is. The vote on the floor is to intervene on the side of the plaintiff to protest the town council for moving the meeting from the vote from April to November.
Based on the fact that we did not receive adequate notice.
So that's what you're voting on, folks. Any questions on the vote? Okay, that's what I'm asking. Make sure you know what you're voting on.
Board Secretary, can you just repeat the motion as we vote?
So the motion is to authorize Florian Perucci to petition to the judge to intervene and to challenge or to challenge that the board did not receive proper notification and to challenge and take the side of the plaintiff.
Adequate. The statute says adequate, so let's
Yeah,
just
well,
use
that's
it.
illegal. You guys
Yeah.
don't worry about that.
Okay.
Now, a yes vote means we intervene, and no vote means we don't.
Excuse me, are we still in public session that we can make comments?
No, there's a motion on the floor, so.
There's a motion that we have to vote this on the floor. We're still in, you still be able to make a comment.
Yeah, but that's
But we're just finishing this, there's a motion that they have to finish and then you can make a comment.
So are we voting?
Yes.
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 Okay. Just making sure anyone has any more questions.
All right. No other questions. Trustee Alam? Yes. Trustee Chang?
Yes.
Trustee Duval?
No.
Trustee Gasadui?
Yes.
Trustee Palermo?
Yes.
Trustee Parkinson?
Abstain.
President Dr. Pizzatelli?
Yes.
President Reyes? Abstain. The motion carries. Five yeses, 1 no, 2 abstentions.
Enjoy that. Enjoy tomorrow.
Thank you, Board Attorney.
Anybody else?
Are we in public comments or board time? Okay, public comments.
Danny Perales, 556 59th Street. Just kind of have a comment, not really asking any questions. Remember last time the attorney that was here, he had mentioned that he wasn't going to be, because somebody had asked him, was he going to be the attorney that was coming to our board, and he said, oh, that it's his firm that's representing the board, and that it could be another lawyer. Now, we have this lawyer, like you said, you know, and she says, well, I'm not the regular lawyer, I don't know about this. And is this going to keep on happening? You know, next meetings are going to be not the other guy, not her, and somebody else. I don't know. I just hope that, you know, our board realizes what's going on with our attorney, and maybe you guys make some changes, or, you know, request that you have one lawyer that always comes to the meetings, or, you know, just something like that, because I think that that's unacceptable, that our lawyer on the board doesn't even know anything that's going on, and she has to say, I'm not the regular person that belongs here. And that's all I have to say.
Well, Mr. Taylor was trying to be here this evening. He was the gentleman that was here last time, Lester, yes. I'm covering for him because I'm one of the other education attorneys at the firm. It is, again, as he said, it is the firm that represents West New York, but I believe that his intent is to come to all of the meetings and be your representation. So there is some consistency. And what I meant by I am not your regular attorney and not aware of this is I reviewed everything with your all of your agendas, with the administration, with Alan before everything occurred. And this, I wasn't aware of it because apparently it wasn't even presented to the board for me to be aware of that there was any litigation arising from this and from the changing of the election.
I hope to see him here next time. I hope somebody's here next time that knows what we asked. Thank you.
Well, can I address that, please? I want to answer him. I would like to give him an answer.
Yes.
To the gentleman who just spoke. This has been brought up by board members at the last week's resolution meeting. This is a concern that not only the public has, but we as members of the board have. And this is not new, and this is a big concern of us. And I'm just glad that somebody from the outside has identified this as well.
Maria Leon, 438 54th Street. I wish this board would start representing what I want and what other people in this town want. And we want this board to stop wasting our money. We're going to pay this lawyer $300-400 an hour to come up with something which a judge may not even hear, but yet we're still going to pay for it. I think it's ridiculous. And I would really appreciate this board to stop wasting so much money. Thank you.
Hi again. Unlike others' opinions, again, Francisco Ferrero, 5206 Bergman Avenue, West New York, New Jersey. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I actually am starting to see great progress on this board. I can't wait to get some more elected members up here so we can start really representing the people. Sometimes real democracy does cost some money, but at the end of the day, it's democracy, and it's what we come to this country for, and it's what this country is built on and stands for. And no democracy should be stopped because of any money whatsoever. I had a question, apart from what has been said in the last few minutes, I had a question I wanted to find out some information on. I would like to know if anybody could answer me if Mr. Vargas, Ruben Vargas, has been fired, resigned, or still employed by the Board of Education.
I can answer that, Frank.
What do you mean, Mr. Baldwin? You have to be able to answer that one. I don't want to know if he passed a drug test. I want to know if he's still employed by the Board of Education.
He was let go at the end of last year.
He was let go at the end of last year.
I did not rehire him at the end of last year.
Okay, so you answered it, see? You could. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board? This time, open the floor for board member comments.
I'd like to make a comment. Actually, a few comments. I have something written. At last month's board meeting, there was a motion to see the resumes of the 2 vice presidential nominees. I voted against this motion because I did not have my resume with me. However, I brought my resume with me tonight. Before I read my resume, I want to address allegations made by some of my fellow board members. Certain members have implied that my vote suggested that I have something to hide. This could not be further from the truth and is merely an attempt to defame my character. Nonetheless, I would like to read my resume to the public to dismiss these false rumors. I'll start with my name, Adam Parkinson. I live in West New York, and my email address here is aparkinson@wnYschools.net. My skills. I am proficient in Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. I speak both English and Spanish, and I'm first aid, CPR, and AED certified. My education, I went to Memorial High School, very proud graduate. I graduated one of 363 students. My GPA was a 4.405. I am now at St. Peter's University in Jersey City, majoring in elementary education and history, and I'm looking for middle school certification in math. So I'll be certified K-5 all subjects, K-8 math, and K-12 history, and my GPA there is a 3.94. My work experience, I worked at the rec over the summer as a counselor with the kids from our town in tutoring and arts and crafts. I volunteered in a tutoring center in Jersey City called New City Kids, and I'm at the Hudson Learning Center working there, also homework help tutoring with the kids in the area. Memberships and affiliations, obviously I'm a trustee of the West New York Board of Education. I was nominated at my school to be a member of Sigma Alpha Pi, which is the National Society of Leadership and Success. Thank you. I was the Vice President of Memorial High School's National Honor Society, President of Memorial High School's Class of 2013, and a member of the Memorial High School Future Educators of America. That's only a few things. Nothing scandalous. In my opinion, pretty impressive, but nothing scandalous. Next, I would like to respond to a comment made by a member of the public at the February board meeting. First of all, before I say that, I would like to thank the 3 members who spoke today, Ms. Herrera, Ms. Lazara, Ms. Olivero. You did an exceptional job at representing the West New York School District. Thank you for saying the great things of the West New York School District. The individuals shared some statistics with us regarding Memorial High School, and being a recent graduate of Memorial High School, I would like to share some statistics too. College Board named West New York School District Advanced Placement District of the Year in 2011. To quote the press release, West New York is just one of 4 school districts in the nation being honored by the College Board for the 2011 AP District of the Year Award for opening AP classroom doors to a significantly broader pool of students while maintaining or improving the percentage of students earning scores of 3 or higher. The AP courses at Memorial include AP Biology, AP Calculus, AP Language and Composition, AP Literature and Composition, AP Spanish Language, AP Spanish Literature, AP US History, AP French, and AP Italian. Memorial High School has partnerships and offers classes from Syracuse University, Caldwell College, Fairleigh Dickinson University, and Kane University. 82% of Memorial High School's class of 2013 went to attend a 4- or a 2-year college upon graduation. In 2011, the national statistic, 42%. Memorial has practically doubled it. Kudos to Memorial High School. Students from Memorial High School's classes of 2008 to 2013 have attended the following institutions. I'm only going to name a few. Boston College, Boston University, Bryn Mawr College, Carnegie Mellon University, the College of New Jersey, which my sister attends, Fordham University, George Washington University, Ithaca College, Johns Hopkins University, NJIT, Swarthmore University, Syracuse University, the University of Chicago, the University of New Haven, Villanova University, the University of Pennsylvania, Cornell University, and Columbia University. The next, and this can go to what Trustee Palermo mentioned, I want to say the fact that I appreciate being a member of the board. I like that we can discuss issues concerning the West New York School District and offer different perspectives on these issues. However, I don't appreciate and will not tolerate being told what to do. Whether it's a board member, a member of the public, or an elected official. Someone who lives in the town, someone who doesn't live in the town. This message goes for everyone. I am a neutral voice on this board and someone who is here 100% because of the students of our schools. no problem with people offering their opinions, but I will not tolerate being told what I think, what to do, or how to vote. You may respond.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I would never presume to tell anybody what to think or how to vote. You are mistaken.
The email that I received, specifically told me to go to Mr. Franchetta and vote yes on this meeting.
I did not send any such email. I did not send
You
any
mentioned
such
an
email.
email to just the email that another board member told me. I was told to go to Mr. Franchetta and tell him that I'm interested in holding a special board meeting. And it wasn't a question, it was a period. That is a statement.
I did not send any email. I received an email that did not tell me what to do. I don't know what you're referring to, but I really resent your making accusations against me that are patently false. And watch your step, Mr. Parkinson. I will not tolerate that. I think you're being very unprofessional. And you're wrong. Don't you dare make accusations against me. I don't tell anyone what to do. I never have, and I would never presume it. If I had anything to say to you, I would say it to your face openly.
I was not accusing you.
You certainly did accuse me. You directed your statements right at me, and I resent it, and that's enough.
I was answering your question about the special meeting. I was not accusing you. I apologize if that's how it came off. I really do apologize if that's how it came off, that I was accusing you, because I was not accusing you. This is...
You addressed your comments directly to me.
The question was addressed.
Go back and forth. Let's let you finish your comment, and then it's board member comments, so you can make a comment after he's finished his comment, but let's kind of keep this orderly and not have it as a back and forth. Let's keep this as board member comment.
Okay. I do apologize if that was not my intent. I apologize for that. Thank you. But I would like to express my opinion about one last thing. Anyone that knows me knows that I do not believe in integrating politics with the Board of Education. Anyone that knows me. I think it's disgusting when you put politics with these kids, because these kids deserve better.
That's why you're there, because you got appointed. You didn't get elected.
Oh, guys, come on. You know better.
Danny, please.
This.
I make a motion to not have to leave.
I'm fine.
Okay?
I'm fine.
Great. Board member comments.
As board members, we discuss parental involvement as an issue in our schools. But how can we expect parents to get involved in our schools if board members aren't even involved? In January, the town of West New York elected 2 new board members to our Board of Education, and both individuals ran on a platform of not having any sort of political agenda. On Wednesday, February 19th, there was a commissioners' meeting at Town Hall, as well as a performance from the Memorial High School Performing Arts Academy. Both of the elected officials and other members, because it's not just the elected officials, you can guarantee, I will call out whoever mixes politics with the kids. And the members who campaigned on exploring the divisions of high schools into specific academies, including the Performing Arts Academy, they went to the commissioners' meeting. And that, in my opinion, is a political meeting.
Would you call out Silvio Costa?
I will call out anyone.
Let's not, again.
I apologize.
Make a statement.
It's for whoever attended the political commissioners meeting, because only one board member actually supported the students of our Performing Arts Academy by attending their show, Sparks of Insanity, and he's presently speaking. To quote one of my fellow board members, to me, this was extremely telling. So it begs the question, did the board members who attended the political commissioners meeting know about the Performing Arts show?
I'd like to respond. I am a citizen, resident of West New York. I have every right to attend commissioners' meetings. I have been attending commissioners' meetings, planning board meetings, zoning board meetings for the past 2 years. And the fact that I am now a member of the Board of Education does not mean I'm going to change. I am not precluded from attending commissioners' meetings by virtue of being on the Board of Education. And I will not be told that I cannot do that. And I resent any implication of any lack of ethics on what you just said. And for the record, no, I did not know about any performance that night.
3.1.
All right, hold on, let's not.
Excuse me, this is a board meeting, no back and forth meeting. You have to respect our time.
Okay.
Let's run the meeting.
We
Everything
voted
have
on the
at end.
Performing Arts Academy show at the February meeting.
Okay, is there any other board member that has a comment or any board member comments?
It's like something personal, look like. Let's set it up outside, not like this over here.
Well, he shouldn't be saying what he's saying publicly, and he says it publicly, I'm going to respond publicly.
Motion to wrap the meeting, please.
There's no other no other board member comments, then?
Do I have a second? Do I have a second to
Second.
adjourn the meeting? Trustee Alam? Trustee Chang?
Yes.